I'm James Ernest, and today we are biting off heads. This is the 25th anniversary edition of Bitin' Off Hedz. It is wackier than ever. It's a dinosaur chase game. Simple objective, throw yourself in the volcano in the center of the island. And I'm just going to teach as we go. I've got 4 players today. Security Jones as my green dinosaur, Christopher Zhang as my pink dinosaur, Dr. J. Robert Lucky as my brown Bronto, and Jessica Beach as the Triceratops. We're all going to start on start. We're going to race to the finish, and let's just get started, shall we? All right, I've randomly set up a play order. I've put everybody on start, and everybody gets a rock because start is a rock space. So I'll give a rock to all these players. Rocks are like your energy. You want to have as many rocks as you can. You can throw them at other players. You can spend them to roll again. They have a lot of uses. And so if you get to the end of the board with a lot of rocks, you're more likely to win the game because you have to re-roll till you hit it exactly. Everybody starts with 1 rock because the start space is a rock space. Normally you would roll 2 dice to move, but on the first turn, you're in a mud pit. And so that means you only roll 1 die. I'll explain all the spaces as we get to them. Dr. Lucky is our first player. He rolled a 1. He's going to take 1 step and land on a rock space, and so he gets a rock. It's that simple. Player 2 is Security Jones. The green dinosaur goes a full 6. Now, when you pass somebody, instead of taking your full move, you can push them and let them finish your move. And so that's what Jones is going to do. She's going to push Dr. Lucky all the way to space 6, because when you push somebody, number 1, you stop where they are. That gets her a rock. Number 2, you steal a rock from them. So she also steals a rock from Dr. Lucky. Now, he's landed in a perfectly normal space, but that was a good example of how pushing works. Our next player is Christopher Zhang, and he rolls a 2. He's going to do the same thing. He's going to push the green dinosaur forward 1, steal one of Security Jones's rocks, and get another one from the board. And now Jessica Beach is coming out with a roll of 4. She sure doesn't want to land in that mud pit, so she does the same thing. Pushes somebody off 1, steals this rock from Zhang, gets another one from the board, and that's our first round. You can see how useful pushing can be, and everyone's just sort of jockeying for position right now, trying to get a big handful of rocks. Eventually you want to get ahead and get all the way to the finish, obviously. Next in turn is Dr. Lucky. He's on a regular space, and so he's going to roll 2 dice, and that takes him 5 from 6 to space 11. That's a normal space. Next in turn is Security Jones. She's rolling 2 dice. She gets a 8. 8 and 2 is 10. That puts her here. Number 3, Christopher Zhang. Zhang's in the mud pit, so he's only going to roll 1 die, and he rolls a 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That is a rock space. So Christopher gets another rock. And way in the back, it's Jessica Beach with 2 dice and rolls a 10. All right, when you land on someone exactly, you can bite off their head and send it back to start. So she's gone from space 1, 10 ahead to space 11. She lands on Dr. Lucky's head and kills him, not unusual. When you bite off someone's head, you send it back to start and you take all of their rocks. So Jessica Beach takes all of Dr. Lucky's rocks, but he starts with a new one because he's a fresh new dinosaur back in the first space. And it's Dr. Lucky's turn again. He's rolling 1 die to get out of that mud. He rolls a 6. Now, when you're in last place, you can spend a rock to go again. Rocks you spend for that, they wind up on the board for anyone else to pick up. He's not so far behind that he's going to do that, so he's going to save that rock. And it's Security Jones's turn. She rolls 2 dice. She gets a 10 from 10 to 20. That's a nice long leap ahead. Christopher Zhang rolls a 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Lands on a boo space. Boo spaces mean you were scared by another bigger dinosaur, and so you roll again. Boo space just means roll again. Christopher Zhang rolls a 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Winds up on 17. And now Jessica Beach rolls a 9 from 11. That puts her on space 20. She lands on Security Jones, takes all of her rocks, and sends Security Jones back to the start. That's how the game starts out. Lots of biting off heads. Now at Safety Beach is spaces 1 through 10. You can't actually bite somebody's head off on Safety Beach. It has to be space 11 or higher. So at least you can, get out of the starting gate. Our next player in turn is Dr. Lucky. He is on a regular space. He's not in last place anymore. He only gets to go 1, 2, 3, 4. And so that's not good enough. Dr. Lucky is going to spend one of his rocks to re-roll 1 die. You can do that as many times as you want, and every rock you spend goes on the board where you're standing. So he rolled a 7 instead. That's going to put him on the boo space. That's perfect. So he gets to roll again. with a 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, you do not have to bite off someone's head. It's always delicious when you do. But you can also peacefully coexist, which is what Dr. Lucky is going to choose to do with Christopher Zhang. Next in line is Security Jones. She's starting over with a fresh dinosaur and a fresh rock, and she rolls a 4 to come out of the gate. That is obnoxious, and so she's going to take her privilege as the player in last to spend a rock and take an entire extra turn, rolling 1 die again. Now, rocks on the board, real rocks on the board, you can pick them up as you go past. And so 1, 2, 3, she swoops up this rock and another one from landing on a rock space. You cannot spend a rock to go again. You can only do it once for every regular turn. So security is done. Christopher Zhang is next. He's very glad he didn't get his head bit off, so we're going to move forward with him. He moves a 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's a perfectly ordinary space, but he's not going to land there. He's going to push Jessica Beach instead, and that will let him steal one of her rocks. Okay, Jessica Beach is next. Jessica Beach is next, and she's headed down for the think space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, first of all, she's got to think. Think is just a space that says, make a decision here, because you have 2 different ways to go. If she goes to the learn to fly space, the spaces after learn to fly won't hold you up. She's got to get all the way across this gap before she's on solid ground again. And that 7 will land her exactly here. She could also take the long way through the mire if she thinks she can't make this jump. But Jessica has a lot of rocks, and so she thinks she can make it over that gap on her next turn. Coming back to Dr. Lucky. Dr. Lucky has a 7. He moves to 24, and that's just what he does. Security Jones is in the back. She rolls an 11. 7 and 11 is 18. That is a rock. And she could spend a rock to go again, but that's not going to happen. So let's talk about some of the other spaces on the board that we haven't encountered yet. We talked about learn to fly. All these spaces are transparent. You cannot stand on them. If you fall in the water, you lose all your rocks and you go back to start. There's another boost space here. There's another think space here because you have to decide whether to take the long way around Injury Ridge or go through the hot lava here in the middle. The hot lava spaces are very bad for you. If you land there, you need to spend a rock to stay alive. You can't spend rocks for any other purpose. They act like mud pits, which means you only roll 1 die to get out of them. But, and here's the best thing about lava, if you roll exactly right, when you start on the lava, you can take this shortcut and go straight to the finish. So from space 75, if you roll a 2, 1, 2, you win. If you roll anything higher, you're just going to keep going. And if you roll a 1, you're on 76, and you lose another rock to stay alive. If you don't do that, if you can't spend a rock when you land on the lava, you go back to start. What we haven't talked about yet are these dashed lines all around the board. They are sight lines where one dinosaur can throw a rock at another as they pass by. We'll see that happen a little later in the game. We are back around to Dr. Lucky's turn, and he is going to start with a roll of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Dr. Lucky has only the rock that he would get from this space, and so sure, that's enough. Let's go there and get a rock. See if Dr. Lucky can jump over that gap. Security Jones is next. She gets a 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's not terrible. Christopher Zhang rolls a 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He could land on 24 or 25, but he's going to push security forward just to steal one of her rocks. And now Jessica Beach is looking at the learn to fly over the chasm here, and she's got to get at least a 6, I think. Let's find out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. She would fall in the water if she used that 5, so that is not going to get her across. She can spend 1 rock to re-roll 1 die, and so she's going to do that. There's a 10, and that gets her across. The rock she spent goes on the track. If that was a bad roll, she can do it again and again until she gets across the water, but now 10 spaces from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's a boo. She goes again. It's 8 more spaces from 45. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and she's back on another rock space. That is a good, fast-moving turn for our Triceratops, Jessica Beach. Dr. Lucky, not so happy. He's got 1 rock, and he's got to learn to fly. Let's see if he can do it. That is an 8. I think that's just enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It is. He's going to sweep up this rock as he goes by and stop on 42. There's another rock for Dr. Lucky. Well done, sir. You have evolved the skill of jumping very far. Security Jones is going to get a 9. Where does that put her? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's in the drink. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's a good space. 34. And a rock for security. She's taking the long way around the mire. Now Christopher Zhang rolls a 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's the learn to fly space. He's got plenty of rocks. That'll work just fine. All right, our leader, young Jessica Beach, with a 9 on 53, goes to 62 and another rock. Good. Dr. Lucky coming up behind her with a 6, 4. Now, here's how throwing rocks works. If you could see someone from anywhere along your path except the space where you start, you can stop. So he's going to overshoot this space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But he can stop here on 47 because it has a line of sight to 62. Stop here and throw a rock at Jessica Beach. Here's how rock throwing works. First, you give them a rock. Second, each of you rolls 1 die. So here's for Jessica, and here's for Dr. Lucky. The high roll wins, and the players switch places. If it's tied, the person on the high ground wins. Jessica has won this roll, but Dr. Lucky has another rock, and you can throw that one too. Here's Jessica's roll. Rolls a 5. Here's Dr. Lucky's roll. 6. And Dr. Lucky and Jessica Beach switch places. And since he landed on a rock space, Dr. Lucky also gets a rock, which is sorely needed. It's Security Jones taking the long way through the mire, and she actually can take a shot at Dr. Lucky too. That's 62 is a dangerous space. She's going to roll an 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's as far as she needs to go to get a sight line on Dr. Lucky. She throws a rock at him. They each roll a die. And Security Jones nicely changes places with Dr. Lucky. Well done, Security Jones. Now, where's Zhang? Zhang is trying to leap over the water. Let's do it. He's got a 6. Is that enough? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, and a free rock. We'll take it. I'll take a big pink one. Jessica Beach. She's not in last place. So, she cannot throw a rock back at space 62. To do anything in this game, you have to move forward at least 1 space. When she goes forward, she can't see that space anymore. So she's just going to roll 1 die to get out of that mud pit. 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's that. Dr. Lucky is next. He's in a similar spot. He can't take a shot at 62 because if he moves forward 1 space, he can't see it anymore. So this is a regular roll of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Security Jones now gets to get out of harm's way. She's going to roll 2 dice and have to think. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. She's way overshot the lava field, which is fine. Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. She lands on a boo space. So we're going to go to the boo. Take the long way, go to the boo, go again. That is a 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now that's exactly the right number of steps to get to the finish, but you can only do that shortcut if you started on a lava space. So she's going to go 6 from the boo, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and land on space 77, bypassing the lava field and taking the long way to victory. It's time for Zhang to get back in this fight. He's got a 9 from that's space number 41, and so that's going to be space 50. Yeah, we'll take that. The thing about this game is you always have choices. The rocks in your hand are choices. Every time you roll a die, you can re-roll it with that rock. And so it may feel like sort of a do what their dice tell you game, but really you are choosing whether to stop and throw a rock at somebody else, whether to spend a rock to go again, whether to spend a rock to re-roll. Lots of quiet choices happening all the time. Jessica Beach is next. She's rolling 2 dice on the 51 and going 7, so that's space 58. That's just fine. And we're back to Dr. Lucky. He's in last place currently. Let's see if he still is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes. He's going to push Christopher Zhang forward, steal that beautiful big pink rock. And now, because Dr. Lucky is in last place, that is the lowest numbered space of all the players, he is going to spend a rock, put one on the board, to take another turn. Now, the player in last place has always had this option, but Dr. Lucky thinks now is a good time to do it. Oh, 10 on 50 is 60. That is the mud, and so instead he's going to push Jessica Beach into that mud and land on 58. And as a side effect, he gets to steal one of Jessica's rocks. Security Jones is in the lead. Let's see how far she can run. 10 spaces from 77 to 87. That's a mud pit, but she doesn't really mind because nobody can throw rocks at that space. And although there isn't currently someone on the path to try and do that, these mud pits here actually are pretty safe places to land. Christopher Zhang is now in last place. And he rolls a 4, putting him in mud. That's just terrible. All right, so he's going to spend a rock on the board to re-roll this 1. That gives him a 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's perfect. Let's do that. 6 spaces ahead. Puts him on 57, and he's still in last place, so he's going to spend a rock, which goes here on the board, to go again. That is a 3. 1, 2, and 3. Chomp. I'll do that. Land on Jessica Beach, take all of her rocks, and send her back to start, where she gets a brand new little rock for being in the start space, the mud space with the 0 and the rock on it. All right, it's Jessica's turn, and she's back at the start, but she's not really out of the game because from many places along the opening stretch of this board, you can see and throw rocks at dinosaurs who are almost at the finish. So let's see where she winds up. She's going to put a 4 on there. It's probably fine. 1, 2, 3, 4. That grabs her a rock off the board. And she's going to spend that rock right back because she's going to go again. Oh, it's a 1. Is that terrible? It's not too terrible. All right. So she goes 1 space forward, collects that rock from the board. She can't go again, and so that's all for Jessica right now. But she's going to come around to where she can throw rocks at Security Jones pretty soon in this, I think. Next in turn is Dr. Lucky. He's rolling 2 dice. He rolls a 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's right on the think space. He can make that decision later. Security Jones is rolling 1 die out of that mud. 1, 2. There's a rock. She's going to need that. Christopher Zhang is rolling 1 die to get out of that mud. It's a 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And he bites Dr. Lucky's head off while Dr. Lucky is deliberating. Takes all of Dr. Lucky's rocks. Look at this huge pile of rocks for Christopher Zhang. Lucky gets 1 more. And now Jessica is no longer in last place. She's starting here. She's rolling a 2. That's not great, but she actually wants to go slow. She's going to come here and get a rock and be done. Now, she might try to go forward far enough to take a pot shot at Security Jones. She would only be able to take an extra turn, though, if she was in last place. And Dr. Lucky just got thrown back to the start, so she's no longer in last place. He is. Here comes Dr. Lucky out of that mud with a 6. He sweeps up this rock as he goes by, and he thinks about going again. Dr. Lucky will go again. He spends that rock and goes again. With a 3, that's not great. He's going to wind up pushing Jessica Beach into the mud pit, stealing that rock and getting another one from the board. Jessica Beach makes the appropriate noise of someone who doesn't want to be pushed into a mud pit. Security Jones, in the lead and running past some angry-looking dinosaurs, rolls an 8. Where does that put her? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, that's pretty good. That's 3 steps from the finish and standing in a mud pit. Let's see how that goes. Christopher Zhang is next. He's on that think space. He's going to roll a 10. If he goes 10 from here, he's on 74, that rock. So one of the things about Injury Ridge is there's some sight lines from here to these spaces in near the finish. But no one's standing where they can be seen here. He's just going to go through the lava and take the long way around Lookout Hill. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He's on space 81. Jessica Beach, what are you up to? You are not in a good position to throw a rock at Security Jones. So you are just going to have to roll 1 die and get out of that mud. 1, 2, 3, 4. Perfect. A boost sends you going again. That's 11 from the 13, which is 22. Way up here, and a rock for Jessica Beach. Dr. Lucky has an option. So right here, if he moves forward 1 space, he's still got a sight line on Security Jones. So he's going to do that. Whatever he rolls on this space, he only takes 1 step because you can stop to throw a rock at somebody. He stops, throws 1 rock at Security Jones. She rolls a 3. He rolls a 1. He throws another 1. 1 on top, 6 on the bottom, and that's a switch. Security Jones does get a free rock for landing on that space. And that's Dr. Lucky's turn. He's 3 spaces from the finish. Security Jones is now in last place. She cannot do the same trick. She can't stop and throw a rock at Dr. Lucky because there isn't a sight line to him from the next space. she's just going to take a normal turn and run ahead. That's 7 spaces from 8. That's 15. And she will spend one of these mini rocks and go again. 8 from 15 is 23. And that's a push. She pushes. Jessica Beach steals one of her rocks, gets another one from the board. Now Zhang is in second place. Let's see if he can get out of here. He needs to roll enough to get past these potential assailants. So that's good. An 8, 1, 2, 3. Well, 81 and 8 is 89. That's here. And another rock for Zhang. How's Jessica Beach doing? She's got to try and throw a rock at the leader. Jessica Beach is going to do something crazy. She's going to throw herself in the water just so she could shoot at the people in first place. If she can make it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Huh. She started here. She's going to spend 1 rock to re-roll that 3. She's going to spend another rock to re-roll that 1. She's trying to go, there it is, into the water. So 10 now from 23. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Into the water on purpose, back to the start with a free rock and a chance to shoot at the person in first place. That's Dr. Lucky. He is on space 97. He needs exactly a 3 to win the game. Here's his first try. 6. If you overshoot the finish, you don't move. He's going to spend this 1 rock to re-roll that. Rolls a 1 and ends up on space 98. Slight progress. Security's going to scoop up those rocks and think a little bit. That's 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. She's on the learn to fly. We've been here before. 2 extra rocks off the board and something to do next time. Christopher Zhang trying to win with a 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on 96. Picks up a rock. Jessica Beach is back at the start again with her free rock. Coming out of the mud with 1 die. Rolls a 2. Decides to spend that rock to take another turn. She rolls a 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's how far she would go. But she's going to sweep up this rock as she goes by and then stop on space 7 where she gets another rock. And throw those rocks at Dr. Lucky one at a time. Here's the first attack. Jessica rolls a 2. Dr. Lucky rolls a 5. That attack fails. Second attack. Jessica rolls a 6. Dr. Lucky needs a 6 and only a 6. He rolls a 4, so they switch places. Jessica Beach is now 1 space from the finish with 0 rocks. Next in turn is Security Jones. She's just taking the long way around. She is trying to jump across that gap with a 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. She's on space 42. Christopher Zhang is on space 96 with 2 dice. He needs a roll of 4 and has all of these rocks. This is how you win the game. With this 2, he's going to spend 1 rock. It's going to sit on the board, and these are going to pile up on the board. And just try to roll a 2 on the other die. There, it took just 1 die to do it. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. He does sweep up this rock on the way by, lands on the finish, and that is the finish of the game. Christopher Zhang is the winner, having jumped first into the volcano. That's how you play Bitin Off Hedz. There are extra rules for each different dinosaur type for advanced players. Lots of more fun stuff to find on the website. You can print and play this from Fragment Labs, or you can order a copy from our store at DriveThruCards. Thanks for watching, thanks for playing, and I'll see you at the table.